Hello everyone and welcome. It's that time of the week again, so it's the Convex community call. So welcome to everyone who's watching, and if anyone's got any questions or things to say at any time, just fire them into the chat. I will be checking and reading out and discussing questions as and when they come up. And particularly special conversation today because we're actually talking about community and community contributions, and this was something that was requested because people wanted to know, hey, what can we do in the Convex community? How can we help, and how can we earn Convex coins as contributors to the project? So that's the topic for today. So we'll talk about this for the next hour or so. I've got a few things to say, but as always, just fire in any questions or things you want to discuss, and we'll take it all from there. So I just wanted to start off with saying that what we do as a community kind of defines who we are. I mean, we're doing something very special here in this community, and it's certainly one of the things that motivates me is that we're working together to do something very unique in the world. We're trying to build a system to enable new kinds of economies that are fairer, that are more efficient, and hopefully make the world a better place. And that's certainly a large part about what keeps me going and keeps me fired up about making Convex a great success. And it's the community really that shapes that how we do that, and how we work together, and how we make that happen. And Convex has always been very much in the spirit of an open source project. We've always worked as an open source model. The code's open. We aim to have transparency in all the products we produce. Everyone can see the code. Everyone can compile the code themselves. It's an open network. Anyone can run a node. Anyone can operate a peer. Anyone can write code. Anyone can build new kinds of economic constructs. Using the capabilities that we're creating. And as an open project also in terms of how we run ourselves. Anyone can get involved. Anyone can contribute. There's no interview. There's no hiring process. There's no gatekeeping of what it takes to get involved. So we are always, and I think hopefully always will be, everyone welcome to get involved in the project. So I think it's part of the way I think about the world is that a lot of the best software is produced on an open source collaborative model, and increasing human knowledge is also often done on a collaborative model. We're always building on the shoulders of giants, and I'd like to be able to sort of keep that sort of ethos as we continue. The second thing that I think is important is and this is more to the economic side. The way that we've tried to design Convex has been it's got to have a fair way of distributing coins to make the Convex coins requires a supply in circulation in order to operate. And the way we do that is by saying, okay, every single coin that ever gets issued is going to someone who contributes something to helping the Convex project. And broadly, there's two ways of doing that. I mean, some people may contribute money to purchase coins so that that can fund the various initiatives that we're working on, and other people may contribute, time, effort, energy, ideas, and all the sort of enthusiasm in the community and all the different the things that go on in the community, and that's also a good reason to be awarded coins. So 100% of Convex coins get awarded to people who bring something to the community and do that. We don't have any big venture capitalists owning a large share of coins or anything like that. Literally everything that gets issued in Convex is for people who are contributing in some way or other to the project. And I think that's a fair principle, and that's how we get our initial supply of Convex coins distributed in Protonet, but also on an ongoing basis. So we've talked many times about the release curve model. That's designed to help this be an ongoing system that we never need to finish. With the release curve basically goes on forever. But that means that also that we only issue coins as more value gets created. So it creates this sort of good economic structure. So I think it's important that we tie the principle of the good economics of the network to how the contribution helps to build the network. So the basic principle we've always operated on is look, anyone who contributes something of value to Convex, to the project, deserves an award of coins, and we've given out a lot of awards of coins so far. Well into the hundreds of thousands of Convex coins will be distributed through this route by the time that Convex goes live. And that's going to be a significant chunk of the early coin supply is going to be people who've given time, effort, and energy to the project. And I just want to say that that's much appreciated, but also it's part of our economic principle is that we reward contributors through that way. And ideally we ultimately get a steady state where people can get a good fair income from working on various different aspects that excite them, that they're good at, and they can add value, and then we get a steady state sort of system with many people working full time on different aspects of the project. But it's not like you have to be full time. We have lots of people who come in, do small pieces that interest them, and then go away for 6 months, and that's totally fine. It is an open project. We do work on these open source principles where people can get engaged on things that interest in them, and at times that interest them. And pros and cons to that, but I mean one of the big advantages is it is flexible, and it means that we can be adaptive to, and we can support different kinds of initiatives as they come up. And I think that's a really important point. When I talk about like community contributions, I always say to people, do what you're passionate about. Do what you are interested in, what you love, what you're good at. Pick the thing that you want to do. There's no point doing something that doesn't excite you, or you're not interested in, or don't think is important. They have this good expression in the open source world: scratch your own itch. If something's annoying you and it's not good enough, and the software doesn't work in the way that you think it should, change it. Create a patch, submit a patch, get that change. Because if it was annoying you, it's probably annoying other people, and that's how open source works. People see an improvement that they'd like to see in the world and make it happen, and then that becomes part of the broader system that everyone can use and enjoy. And that works very well in the tech communities, where developers not only have an itch to scratch that they understand and it's a pain point for them, but they also have the skills to fix it and change it directly and change the tools. So I think open source works particularly well on things like many aspects of the Convex stack, where they're designed to be used primarily, or at least directly used, by developers or technologists, and they both appreciate what they want it to do and also have the skills to change it and make it do what they want it to do. And that's important. Do the things that you're passionate about. I say to everyone, and I think as a principle, I'll say a bunch of things that I think are great opportunities. I think there's a question there about that. Will we have a list of priorities folks can pick from that are needed to help provide liftoff? I mean, I'm very happy to talk. I'm going to say in this discussion a few things that I think are important and relevant. But that's my opinion. We're a community, and if people say, actually, I think it's really important that we do X and want to propose something around X, then that's fantastic. And if someone's got a good idea, I certainly personally, I'm super happy to support anyone who's got a good idea and has the skill and perseverance to make it happen. It's all about execution ultimately. So I'll go through a few things that I think are opportunities that are in the community, in the ecosystem more broadly. and people who want to, if you want to fire off other things or things that you see as in the discussion, then please do. I mean, I say this is my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I would never claim to have all the answers on all the good ideas that can exist in the world. So as I go through, just bear that in mind. Yeah, if there's a good idea that I don't mention, then that doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means that someone's got to stand up and champion it. Make sense? Yeah, exactly. I mean, comments on the chat. Yeah, community or will always have a say on how we move forward, and ultimately things include myself in this. Yeah, what the things that happen are the things that at least one of us or two of us or three of us or a bigger group of us decide that we want to do. Then that is what that is what will happen. Yeah. So let me go through and some of the big. The big buckets, and I think of sort of like three big buckets, if you like, of sort of areas where contribution may be sort of super valuable, and I'll just say at the top level the three big buckets, and I'll dive a little bit into each of them. The first is obviously the technical side, and this is probably the most obvious, so I'll sort of deal with that first. But this is all the actual software and the things that go around the software that are important. But that's not all of it. Yeah. So there's also the community aspect. So what is it that we do as a community in terms of communication, in terms of marketing, in terms of things that help the community work smoothly, is, I'd say, equally important to the technical side. And then the other area where I think there's great opportunities is what I'd call broader ecosystem. Yeah. So these are more like projects that are linked to the community, but in fact potentially have a community of their own right. Yeah. So I'm talking about particular apps on Convex. I'm talking about open source projects that make use of Convex. I'm talking about businesses that want to use Convex. I'm talking about all the sort of the wider economic system and how the Convex community engages with them. And I mention that because that's a potentially incredibly broad world, but it's still contribution as far as I'm concerned to the community. Yeah? If someone creates a game using Convex, sure, it's not part of the Convex software, but it's part of the ecosystem and it's part of the community, and that should be rewarded as well. So I think that's the sort of the third big area. So yeah, so the three areas: technical, community, and ecosystem. I would say are the sort of areas that people might be interested in. And obviously, different people have excited about different things. Different ones of those may appeal, or one or more. Yeah, you don't. It's not like you have to pick one. So I'll say a little bit about the tech side first. In the tech side, there's actually quite a lot of pieces, so I'll try and sort of describe at least how I think about it and how it might logically break down. First of all, there's the core technology. So the core technology I classify as everything that makes Convex network operate. Yeah. So this is the stuff that is absolutely necessary to deliver on our vision of having a fully decentralized network and having the infrastructure to create and operate open decentralized economic systems on Convex. And that breaks down into two subcategories. One is the actual Convex implementation itself. Yeah, by the Convex implementation I mean the peers, the proof of stake algorithm, the convergent proof of stake algorithm, the data structures, the Convex virtual machine, all the stuff that actually makes Convex network operate is sort of the core Convex. The Convex technology is probably the most hardcore deep tech part of Convex. Takes quite a bit of understanding to dive deep into the code, understand what it's doing and why it's doing it. That's not lots of people have, but I'm still probably by far the largest contributor to that particular area of the code, but I'm always happy to see other people get involved, give patches. We get quite some great open source contributions on improving Convex core, and always very happy to take people through the details if you want to deep dive into how to actually do some of this. So that's the Convex core, and I'd say twinned with that is the on-chain code. So this is stuff like the smart contracts. This includes like the things like the decentralized exchange, Taurus. It includes things like the decentralized ID system. All of the stuff that's implemented within Convex in terms of the decentralized code. So primarily smart contracts, these kind of things. That is also very deep tech. You don't actually need to know how Convex works in order to build those kind of things. It's almost like a different layer. But these are really I think the interesting pieces when it comes to building decentralized economic systems. So, do you want to build an auction system? Do you want to build derivatives? Do you want to build tokenization of assets? Do you want to build non-fungible tokens? Do you want to build decentralized identity, governance, all of these kind of capabilities? That is the sort of the on-chain, the core on-chain components, which then become reusable for everyone else. Yeah. So we solve the problem of tokenization, so that anyone who wants to build a token on Convex can build a project using the token infrastructure that we have. So that's why I consider it core, because these are common capabilities that everyone in the ecosystem can use, and therefore it's extremely valuable whenever anyone's able to contribute something that improves that, because then everyone in the ecosystem gets the benefits of those improvements. So it's all open source. We do an open source model. Anyone who wants to improve some of this is very welcome to send pull requests. We do have a contributor agreement for code requests that we do ask anyone to sign if you want to receive coins for contributing core code, but we do award coins for any contributions to the core code that are valuable, and that includes things like bug fixes. Yeah, so if you can fix a bug, we do bug bounties. Any bug fix we'll get coin awards. And there's a few that are known bugs, but if you find one and have a good solution and a good fix, then that's perfectly fine as well. Yeah, we don't have to pre-agree which bugs get coins. Every single bug fix in core code will get will earn someone some coins somehow. So that's the sort of the core tech piece. Then there's all the tools around the core technology. So the tools around the core technology are things like the Python libraries, so the libraries for different language bindings in ecosystems that help people using different software stacks to use Convex. So we've got Python, we've got Java, we've got Clojure, we've got there's a C++ one, there's the REST API related ones. There's all of these tools that are not part of Convex core itself, but actually help people to use Convex and make it easy and provide good interfaces and help projects to build better solutions using Convex. That's equally valuable. Yeah, so they're I'd say a little bit simpler, and they're probably if you are particularly passionate about a particular programming language, for example, then that's a great opportunity to say, okay, how do I use Convex from that programming language? What's the library? What's the way that we do that in a sort of user-friendly way for people in the Python ecosystem or the JavaScript ecosystem? The whole tool space, again, good for coders, people who want to contribute and build real code and make things easy for other people in the ecosystem. And that we're always very happy to recognise that kind of effort. Of course, it's never all about code, and there's always documentation. is exceptionally important, and documentation is both like documenting the code itself and the sort of the reference material that refers to the code, but it's also things like tutorials, so writing examples, showing what can be done, and that's kind of fun. If there's something you want to figure out how to do with a Convex smart contract and write an example about how that works, that's the kind of content and writing which is really, really useful, and that sort of helps us with developer advocacy and helping people who are new, and increasingly we're going to have to deal, I think, with a lot of new people who are sort of trying out Convex for the first time, and will want to go through different tutorials and see different things. And I'd love to see more great documentation sort of material around, and examples and tutorials and sort of cool ideas that people can implement for themselves. And I think that's just as important as code, to be honest, because that's how people actually get value out of the code. And the final part of the tech space is tech advocacy. Yeah, so people who want to actually talk about the principles, the ideas, the design, how we do things better. Get involved in the sort of technical discussions, but also attract people who are interested in these topics from elsewhere. I think that's hugely valuable. A lot of the best ideas in Convex have come from discussions on our Discord. Yeah, over the past couple of years, we've had so many great technical debates. We've hashed out all kinds of interesting topics, whether it's around cryptography, whether it's around data structures, whether it's around how we operate and run peers, and all those improvements help to make Convex better. And getting involved in the debate and bringing in outside experts to get involved in those discussions is sort of super valuable. And again, that's something that I'd count as a very high value contribution. Okay, so I think I'm probably setting up on the technical stuff, but there's quite a large scope of different areas to get involved, and always very happy to have people who are technical contributors wanting to help the project. So then there's the community aspect. So if I move on from technology to what in the community, if you're not a software developer, if you're not a software designer, or you want to get involved, but you're not going to really get involved on the code side, what are the opportunities there? So there's always valuable things in the community, and part of it is just being there, and getting involved in discussions, coming up with good ideas, helping us to grow as a community. And that can be in lots of different ways. It can be talking on social media, it can be doing things on the website, improving the website. It can be getting involved in the philosophy. Yeah, I mean, how do we build better economic systems, and how do we create a fairer world? And in fact, some of the documents that I think are particularly important and valuable are things like the Convex Manifesto, where we actually talk about there's very little technology in it. Yeah, it's more about philosophy and the ideas and things that we can do, and I do think that is incredibly valuable. That's just as valuable as code is sort of pushing the thinking about what's actually going to be possible with the kind of capabilities that we're building, and how do we use that in a positive way, and talking about it. Yeah, so talking about social media, talking about it on YouTube. I mean, this entire channel was a suggestion of community members who said, hey, because we used to do, to tell a bit of a story, we used to do a weekly hangout where we would just join the call at the same time. We would just discuss things in the community, and it was great. Lots of good conversations came out of that. We even had quite a lot of demos. of things people had built, stuff like that. The problem was, of course, it all disappeared. Yeah, no one. Once that was there, if you weren't one of the people on the call, then it was kind of gone. So the suggestion was to sort of do a video talk every week, and that meant at least that hey, we could still have discussion, we could still have a bunch of different questions and interesting topics to talk about. And I know it ends up with me talking probably far too much, but at least then we get a video that that people can come back and can watch and pick things up in the future. So always open for feedback, by the way. If people want to try out different formats or different ways of doing things, then always happy to experiment with new things. But one of the reasons we do this is because it was an idea that came out of the community, and because it helps to create content that people in the future can come and see and refer back to. So yeah, so comment on the chat. Yeah, been very helpful because of time zones around the world. One of our problems was we could never get everyone to join a call at the same time. So this one at least people can come back and watch it at some later point. So yeah, great idea. But we can do more of these kind of things, and it's really about what people in the community are keen to make happen. And there's obviously things like things like the website. Yeah, so if people think there's some improvements we can make to the website, you don't have to be a technologist to make improvements to the website. You can actually edit it directly on GitHub, and then those changes get accepted, and then they will appear in the next version of the website. If you haven't done a pull request, I'm sure people will be happy to show you how to do that. But you can literally change the website without any coding experience whatsoever if you find the right place to edit. Quick comments from chat. People are definitely joining the Discord after these videos, so it's definitely good in terms of helping people to see more about the project and helping new people to join, which is great. So glad you like them. Keep doing them is the comment. Yeah. So we'll definitely run with this for a while, but obviously let's keep discussing what's the best thing that people like. So I've talked about the more technical pieces of contribution. Talked a bit about stuff that's possible in the community, and that's definitely a space where good ideas are very welcome, and really anyone wants to make something happen can make it happen in that sense. The final layer I'd say is, and this is almost the monster, if you like, is ecosystem. So when I think about ecosystem, I think it's all of the projects, companies, organizations, people, individuals who can actually then go and use what we have built for other things. Yeah. So they're part of the I'd say the broader community, but in fact it's maybe a completely different business. Yeah, it might be someone in gaming, it might be a bank, it might be a company trying to tokenize some real world assets. It might be an entrepreneur, a new startup. It could be policymakers. It could be anyone really involved in the economy who has something to gain from what we're building here, as we build better economic systems. Therefore, it's kind of infinitely broad to some extent. But what is it? One of obviously the mission of Convex is to have impact, to make the world a better place, and therefore I certainly consider things that help build the ecosystem to be super valuable contributions, and make very clear that the remit from the foundation to distribute coins to people who contribute includes the ecosystem. Yeah. So if a startup builds a cool new kind of wallet using Convex, then again that's the kind of thing that we absolutely would give coin awards to. So obviously depends a lot what it is, but pretty much anything that that makes sense is I'd say is valid, and that's not necessarily just startups and apps. It could be businesses doing things like tokenization of assets. It could be academic work, academic projects. So thinking about either economics or decentralized technology and the impact those have on society, those kind of things. We can definitely give coins and grants for academic studies that are relevant to the Convex ecosystem. And of course, it can include things like joint ventures, companies working on new kinds of products, these kind of things. So it's exceptionally broad, yeah. And there's several different companies in building on Convex already, but obviously we want to see more. And anyone who wants to help make that happen. It's either build something yourself, introduce someone who wants to build something, put together a consortium that wants to do something, and we can give Convex coins to support those kind of initiatives. So yeah, looking at the chat, there's stuff like enterprises, startups. I think open source projects as well. Yeah, totally valid. So there's if it makes sense to integrate an existing open source project with some of the Convex technology, and that's a useful thing for the ecosystem, then that's absolutely the kind of thing that we'd like to give a coin grants for. I mean, someone's already built integration with Unity, for example, the Unity game engine. That's kind of tool ecosystem of or sort of building bridges and links with other open source. Sorry, Unity is not open source, but something like Godot perhaps, even if it's a commercial game engine, it's something that's helping to build the ecosystem, and we can support that. So from chat, good. A consortium around metadata standards. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so there's a bunch of standards that we have adopted or use or would like to use, and let me give a really good example. There's the for identity, there's the W3C decentralized identity standards, the DID standards, DID core, and these kind of things. So that's the World Wide Web Consortium. It's one of those things that, if there's a good standard and it makes sense and it fits what we're trying to do, we don't reinvent the wheel. We just use it, pretty much out of the box if it already exists. But some of these standards haven't yet been developed or need to develop further, or don't quite do what we want to do. So there's a lot of value in engaging with these kind of standards consortiums to make better things happen, and I think that's definitely something we can support. It's a valuable contribution, and the kind of stuff that I think is particularly interesting is things where we're providing some kind of new foundational infrastructure. Yeah, so like decentralized ID, like tokenization, like maybe governance is a good example. Yeah, it's going to be some standardization around mechanisms of decentralized governance, and I think that's a super exciting topic, and would love to be involved in those kind of standard initiatives. And that's definitely something that people in the community, if they're passionate about those kind of things, should get involved in. There's also some more like deep tech standards we use. So some of the crypto specifications, like the ED 25519 is a good example. So the crypto signature algorithm we use, but there's also standards that going to be interesting things emerging around sort of privacy focused features, zero knowledge proofs, all of these kind of things. So still, I guess, more of an academic research topic, but those kind of standards are definitely, I think, worth getting involved in, because we will use them at the point that they become sufficiently mature and useful. I think they're, some of these things are not quite there yet, but the aim certainly will be to support these once they're fit for purpose. And it's probably going to be Convex version 2 or Convex version 3, but it's definitely possible. Okay, so question from chat. I noticed that with Ethereum they have EIPs, and maybe that means ERCs, but it seems many of them are stuff we can already do on Convex. What kind of improvement proposals do you think we would add after the core is launched? So that's a really great question. So we do have CADs, CADs is our equivalent, if you like, of ERC documents. And there's BIPs as well, the Bitcoin improvement projects. But the ones we have are called CADs. Anyone who wants to get involved in those is super welcome. So we have about 25 draft CADs at the moment, which are, I'd say, in varying stages of completion. They are fairly draft, and the aim is that these become effectively our standards documents once we are ready to confirm them. And it's important because we do need formal specifications for this, particularly as as we go on into future iterations, because and there's this thing in open source that the code is the standard. How it works is how it works, but longer term that's not going to be an acceptable answer. So we need to effectively nail down these standards, make sure they're all correct, and that's kind of what the Protonet phase is going to do, is help us really just confirm that yes, we got these CADs right, so we can change them from a draft to a sort of a final version. Because if we discover something really stupid from a design perspective in Protonet, we can still potentially fix that. If that happens, post mainnet, it becomes increasingly difficult to change things, and you sort of have to lock down these standards pretty hard at mainnet. So anyone who wants to get involved with these standards, super welcome. What are the kind of improvement proposals? There's a couple that I'm super interested in. I think that we can move to higher levels of abstraction very quickly. So if you look at a lot of the sort of standards around the internet, Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're pretty low-level standards. It's more like the technical features. And what I think we can do is we can move to some interesting higher level standards. So for example, let's say a standard for derivatives, and sort of compound assets, or assets that have underlying assets, these sort of higher order structures that are important for open economic systems. I think we should sort of aspire to be able to write good standards for these. And whenever you write a standard, it's also helpful to have a good, reliable reference implementation. So here's a working one of those. And this is something which I think Convex has a bit of a superpower because of the flexibility of the CVM and because of the functional programming and the higher level of abstraction that we use in the CVM. Means that we can probably push to higher level standards, or more build standards for things that normally I don't think other parts of the crypto ecosystem, not that they haven't experimented with these, but I don't think they've necessarily got a really good way of doing these in a standardized way, and I think we can get to that pretty quickly. with a bit of thought and a bit of care. So I definitely like to see some some good ideas and initiatives in that space. And for example, we've had many times this concept of, okay, you could run an entire bank, a decentralized bank, on Convex. Yeah. Well, what's the standard for a bank? We should have that kind of CAD. So what is the bank account interface that works in a fully decentralized bank? And we ought to be able to define that, I think, pretty much now. Yeah, I mean, all the building blocks are in place, and it will be a super interesting design to do, and to try and work that into a standard and have like a reference implementation. It's probably a couple of weeks work to build a fully working bank on Convex. Because you need deposit accounts, you need loans, and you need some systems to sort of moderate them. But all the underlying infrastructure for that is effectively built. So it's really a case of just plugging that together in the right way, so it makes sense. And that should be a standard, yeah. So that different banks can be interoperable, so that you can have a bank account client that knows how to talk to different banks, and loan applications you can send the same loan application to multiple banks, and get, like, for example, bids on what interest rate offers exist. So all of those kind of things would make sense to be standardized if you want to have a really flexible, dynamic economic system. All of this stuff is stuff that you want to automate and define, so that it can be done in a very sort of fluid, machine operated way. And standards really help that. Yeah, so this is definitely key part of the ecosystem. Is, okay, we want to enable new kinds of economic systems, decentralized banks, for example. Well, we should have a standard for that. We should have a standard. We should have a reference implementation, so a working open source implementation that people can test out and possibly build upon and improve. And obviously partnerships, yeah, like who wants to be the first fully decentralized bank? And we've had a few conversations already with people interested in this space, but it's definitely an opportunity for great partnership opportunities. So that's the kind of thing, I think, in the ecosystem that we definitely can support, and we can definitely award coins and grants for people to do that. Okay, another question. High level abstraction is very flexible. Yeah, so we can definitely do a lot of awesome stuff. It's very powerful. So that's definitely something that's super exciting for people to get involved in helping out with. Question: ERC 5169 introduces the concept of executable scripts within Ethereum tokens, allowing them to carry their own logic and behavior, going from static to dynamic. Can't we already do this? Yes. Yeah, I think we can. I mean, our NFTs are a lot more. I'd say our NFT abstraction is a lot more powerful and generic than in any other system at the moment. So yeah, we can pretty much already do all of this stuff. Now should we probably have a CAD specifying exactly how you do that? That's an interesting question. So I think you need to standardize interfaces. So the way that you talk to NFTs, or the way that you talk to a DeFi bank, or the way that you talk to an option contract, you don't necessarily need to standardize the implementation. In fact, a good standard should allow for multiple different implementations. So things like executable scripts within a token, do you need to standardize that? I'm not entirely sure. I'm not sure whether it is something that needs to be standardized in that sense, unless you were going to try and make the scripts pluggable with each other, but then that adds a whole bunch of complexity. So you'd have to convince me, from an architecture perspective, how much value that adds to standardize the executable script plugin part. People can already do it on Convex, but does it need to be standardized? I don't know. But it might be very useful for a particular use case. or a particular project to do that. And so it's still a very valid thing to do, and maybe useful within the ecosystem. Just not sure whether it's something that needs to be standardized or not. DeFi bank, I want one. Yeah, hopefully we will get one of those rolling soon. I mean, it's not, I say bank. I mean, bank has a lot of sort of legal definitions that a DeFi bank might not technically tick. But I watched a very fun film the other day. It's called Bank of Dave, about this working class self-made man in the north of England who decides he wants to set up a bank, and the challenges and the trials and the story he goes through trying to do that, setting up the Bank of Dave, and it's actually based on a true story. The true story is he didn't actually set up a bank. He set up something called Burnley Savings and Loans, which effectively did what a bank does, but it wasn't technically called a bank. He still hasn't got the official banking license. So you don't actually have to legally be a bank to do savings and loans, which is what a DeFi bank would really have to do in order to be effective. So whether or not we call it a bank is an interesting question, but it's definitely possible, and it's definitely demand for it, and it's definitely something that Convex is designed to be able to support. So a very exciting opportunity. I think they do those things to add capability that wasn't in the original ETH design. Yeah, I mean that's kind of true. Yeah, so a lot of things that other systems need to make a core platform change to, we don't need to do in Convex, or and because we have a little bit more flexibility in some technical dimensions for quite complicated reasons, but it's to do with stuff like the on-chain compiler, the ability to do code modifications, the ability to do trust monitors. So a lot of stuff that's designed into Convex means that we can do things without changing Convex that other systems would have a lot of difficulty doing. And not sure how many of you follow the CVM changes in detail, but over the last year, very little has changed on the CVM in terms of what functions and capabilities are available. So pretty much everything you could do 1 year ago on the CVM is essentially exactly the same as now, because we haven't needed anything else. We've got sufficient flexibility to do everything that anyone's tried to do. And I think that's testament to a good design. Yeah, if we've got that much stability in the development at this point, no one's yet thrown us anything that would, or no one's recently thrown anything in that would be nice to do that we can't do, which I think is good, a good sign. Yeah, we have all of this flexibility, which means it's much less likely that we're going to have a problem where we need to do a major network upgrade to add something that we forgot, because we've already got the flexibility to do it. It just can all be done in dynamic code in the smart contracts. So I think that's a big advantage that we have. What's the low-hanging fruit a developer from Ethereum who does not fully understand Convex Lisp could contribute on? So, I mean, first of all, I mean, you definitely don't have to know Convex Lisp to do useful coding. Yeah. So there are many things that don't, like, if you think about all the code in Convex, probably less than 1% is Convex Lisp. It is a really small proportion. I know it's the sexy thing to talk about the smart contract language, but it's actually a very small percentage of the code. Yeah. So all the tools, like the Python tools, are written in Python. There's plenty of stuff in JavaScript. There's the website, which is, you know, the mix of ClojureScript and JavaScript. There's the stuff like Flutter, the tools that do mobile bindings, TypeScript, all of this kind of stuff. It's easy to contribute in these areas without any knowledge of Convex Lisp. So you know, Convex Lisp is just I'd say a very, very small part of the code. If you want to do smart contracts, it's currently easiest to do Convex Lisp, but I think it's still pretty fast to learn. Yeah, it is a very clean language, and it should be pretty easy for people to get up to speed quickly. So I'm certainly very happy to take it if someone's an experienced Ethereum developer, just show how do we do that in Convex Lisp, and it's probably, you know, probably half the length or a quarter of the length for many things. You know, it's a good thing to, you know, just try it out and see, you know, maybe you like it as a smart contract language, and actually it's not too hard to switch over. I would say a good low-hanging fruit for someone who wants to learn is to try and write some examples. Yeah, so you can contribute an example, write a good example. You know, how did you solve this particular problem? You know, how did you translate something from your other environment into Convex Lisp? How did that work? Share your experiences, and that's something it's both potentially useful documentation or tutorial material for other developers, but also it's potentially something that's good in the community for like sharing and, you know, on social media or something like that. So that's definitely low-hanging fruit. It's, you know, probably you should be able to do something in a couple of hours that's sort of useful and interesting, and it's a good way of learning. So I'd say people coming from other smart contract systems such as Ethereum, that might be a good way to try things out. Of course, if you're more coming from the tools side and you say, actually, there's this really cool thing that I like from the Ethereum ecosystem, but doesn't exist in Convex yet. And I'll give in a good example. Yeah, we have a very, very primitive block explorer on the website, but it's certainly not, you know, got all the bells and whistles or magic stuff. If someone actually is really passionate about, you know, how do you do good analytics, for example, build a better block explorer or improve the one that we already have. These are all quite low-hanging fruit, because, you know, you don't actually really need to, as long as you understand the concepts of, you know, decentralized systems and transactions, a lot of that just translates directly, and, you know, you'll be very easy to get involved in building some of these sort of these tools, things like explorers, things like wallets. Is definitely, you know, relatively simple compared to like diving into the depth of the consensus algorithm. So there's some examples, but, you know, I'd say it's really what you're interested in and passionate about, and you know, whatever that is, I'm sure we can figure something out. One thing community members can help with is spread the word around these live events. Yeah, so yes, please do like and share on and subscribe on YouTube, and share on Twitter and all of these kind of things. Every little bit about this helps. You know, helps the algorithm, helps us get more people involved. So please do like and share and all of that. Other questions from chat. Anyone up for building a block explorer? Yeah, so I do think that is very helpful for the ecosystem. So we do have a primitive one in the Convex World website that, you know, you can see the testnet blocks and transactions, and, you know, go back and look through the history and all this kind of thing. But it would be much nicer if we can get an all singing, all dancing one. So yeah, that's definitely a cool project for anyone anyone's interested in the block explorer kind of stuff. You know, I think there's an opportunity to build something that is a better interface for decentralized systems, and I'm kind of probably going to be inventing something a bit off the cuff here. But, you know, a block explorer is kind of like read only. Yeah, you're looking at information, you're not really interacting. And I think there is a great opportunity to think about how can we build a tool that actually is like a user interface for the decentralized economy. And obviously there are ways of building user interfaces like apps that do a particular thing fairly well, you know, an exchange or wallet or these kind of things. But is there a way of building something that's more like a higher level tool for with a user interface for different kinds of actions, economic actions that you might want to take, and almost have it like a plug-in, pluggable system? Yeah. And let me give an example. Exercising an option might be an example of an economic action that you might want to take. And yes, it's possible to have a execute option page in an app that deals with derivatives. But it would be nice if you could say, okay, here's the list of all the things you can do from many different apps or from many different components in the ecosystem, and can you just select what you want to do and press a button and it happens, and that's a new kind of user interface. I think that where there could be some really big innovation. So it's like more of a user interface than directly going and typing commands at the REPL, but also more. So it's got more UI than that, but it's almost like more generic than a specialized app which does a particular thing. So I think of it kind of like yes, it's a block explorer, but also it understands the other entities that are higher level. Yeah. So an example of a higher level thing is a derivative contract. Yeah. What are the things you can do with a derivative? Well, you can buy it and sell it, so it's a token, and you can exercise it or let it lapse, and it's got some information which is specific to derivatives. So, but probably they all have the same shape. Yeah. So if we write a CAD that describes the shape of a derivative, then this decentralized explorer or decentralized interface would know how to talk to any kind of derivative contract, and it could enable people to say, okay, I want to exercise these options now. And I think that could be a very powerful tool. It's obviously advanced, and it's something that we have to start small with, probably, but it's definitely possible. I built a demo prototype of something like this a long time ago, where it looked at the actor code on chain and built a user interface based on what functions were available in the actor. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly right, Nicholas. So I just saw a comment on chat. So yeah, something like exposing the callable functions of an actor through the UI, possibly some nicely validated forms for their input, and pretty display of the result. Exactly. So if you can say, look, this actor has an exercise option function. Okay, that's a good sign. It looks like it's an option, and it conforms to the option CAD. That's good. It looks like this has the right code interface for an option, and I've checked the blacklist. It's not a scam. It's on the list of approved options, so you can give it a green tick. And maybe if it wasn't on the list, you could give it a question mark. And if it was on a blacklist or something like that of known scams, you could give it a skull and crossbones black mark or something like that. But the interface should be intelligent enough to know that, okay, this is an option. It's got the usual option functions. It's got a tick from some set of some decentralized set of validators, and Therefore, you ought to be able to press this button, execute the correct transaction, and exercise that option. And you could build the UI in a generic way that it understands these kinds of entities. And it doesn't matter who issued the option, it doesn't matter what the underlying asset is, it doesn't matter which country it's based in. All of that is abstracted away. All it needs to know is the interface to an option, how to present that to the user, and maybe a bit of how to do the appropriate checks to make sure that it's safe. But you know, that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of. Yeah. So it's like a decentralized interface to economic constructs, which is I think super interesting. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a single app. Yeah, it should be across the whole ecosystem. Anyway, we're running out of time, but you know, I hope through that discussion we've given some sort of some sort of ideas about you know, areas where contribution is valuable. Hopefully, given people some, you know, inspiration to get involved on some of these topics. As always, drop by the Discord if there's something you want to do. Just come and discuss it, and you know, we can figure out how to make it happen. It is an open community, and you know, it's ultimately driven by what people want to do and what they want to make happen. So, thank you very much for joining, and see you all next week. Bye for now.